Picture this. February 5th, 1978. Boston families are sipping morning coffee, children bundling up for school, commuters grabbing car keys for another ordinary Monday. The forecast mentions snow, nothing unusual for a New England winter. But while the city stirred to life, something monstrous was forming over the Atlantic. Within hours, highways became frozen graveyards, cars buried alive, with families trapped inside. Military tanks rolled through suburban streets. Recent analysis reveals this was not just a blizzard. It was a meteorological perfect storm that modern science is only now beginning to understand. This was the White Hurricane of 1978. America in 1978 was a nation in transition. Jimmy Carter occupied the White House, grappling with an energy crisis that left Americans waiting in gas lines. The digital revolution had not yet transformed daily life. No internet, no cell phones, and crucially, no modern weather forecasting technology. Weather prediction relied on scattered reporting stations and rudimentary satellite imagery that could not capture the detailed evolution of storm systems. New England had weathered countless winter storms throughout its history. Bostonians carried a certain swagger about their winter hardiness. They had seen it all before, or so they thought. Local meteorologists like Peter Bouchard at WBZ-TV had earned the community's trust, but even they could not have anticipated what was brewing offshore. February 5th began unremarkably. Schools remained open, businesses operated normally, and weekend plans continued without interruption. Weather reports mentioned snowfall, but nothing warranted special concern in a region accustomed to winter's challenges. Families in Woburn packed lunches for school. Commuters on Route 128 prepared for Monday's rush hour, and no one suspected that by evening they would be fighting for survival. The first snowflakes began falling around 6 a.m. Light, gentle precipitation most residents dismissed as routine. Weather forecasters had predicted moderate snow accumulation, perhaps 4 to 6 inches at most. By 9 a.m., however, meteorologists detected something alarming. Two powerful storm systems were converging directly over Cape Cod. An Arctic cold front pushing down from Canada was colliding with a moisture-laden coastal low tracking up from the Carolinas, a combination rarely seen with such perfect alignment. At 11 a.m., barometric pressure readings began plummeting faster than during the infamous hurricane of 1938. This was a sign of what meteorologists now call explosive cyclogenesis, a bomb cyclone forming with unprecedented intensity. The atmosphere was reorganizing itself into something monstrous. By noon, winds had reached a sustained 80 miles per hour, with gusts approaching 100 miles per hour. Hurricane force. Snow was falling at the extraordinary rate of 4 inches per hour, creating whiteout conditions across the entire region. The temperature plunged dramatically, dropping from around 30 degrees Fahrenheit to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit in just 6 hours, creating deadly wind chill factors below negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. What made the storm so devastating was its timing and unprecedented intensity. Most significant New England storms either moved quickly through the region or developed gradually enough for preparations. The blizzard of 1978, however, explosively intensified during a Monday workday when millions were already away from home. The storm then stalled, a meteorological term called blocking, effectively parking this weather monster directly over New England for more than 36 hours. The forecasting technology of 1978 simply could not detect the precise mechanisms that created this perfect storm. Today's advanced models would have predicted the explosive development days in advance. Instead, millions of New Englanders found themselves caught completely unprepared for what would become the benchmark against which all future winter storms would be measured. By early afternoon, the storm's catastrophic effects became apparent across Massachusetts. Route 128, the major highway circling Boston, transformed into a 20-mile parking lot as blinding snow made driving impossible. An estimated 3,000 vehicles were abandoned as drivers either sought shelter in nearby buildings or remained trapped inside their cars. Snow accumulated so rapidly that entire vehicles disappeared under 15-foot drifts, creating an apocalyptic scene where only antenna tips remained visible above the snow's surface. As conditions deteriorated, Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis took the unprecedented step of issuing a statewide driving ban. It was the first in the Commonwealth's history. Logan Airport shut down completely and remained closed for 6 days, stranding thousands of travelers. The entire Northeast transportation network collapsed within hours. The death toll climbed as the storm raged on. Across New England, 235 people perished, some from heart attacks while shoveling heavy snow, others from carbon monoxide poisoning as they tried to stay warm in snow-blocked cars, and still others from hypothermia after becoming disoriented in whiteout conditions. First responders faced impossible challenges reaching those in need. Infrastructure systems failed catastrophically. More than 2 million residents lost electrical power as heavy snow and hurricane-force winds snapped thousands of utility poles. Hospitals switched to emergency generators, performing surgeries by flashlight when backup systems failed. Water pipes froze and burst throughout the region, leaving countless homes damaged. The coastal impact proved particularly devastating. The storm coincided with astronomical high tides, sending 30-foot waves crashing over seawalls and flooding downtown Boston. Hull, Revere, and other coastal communities saw entire neighborhoods washed away as hundreds of homes were literally torn from their foundations and swept out to sea. Survivors' accounts painted a picture of both terror and resilience. Woburn resident Margaret Sullivan described the storm's sound as like freight trains colliding right outside our windows, and she said the house shook with each gust. State Trooper Robert McKeon, stranded on Route 95, recalled that cars were literally flying through the air like toys, and that he had never felt so helpless in his entire career. National Guard rescue teams deployed to Route 128 reported hearing people screaming from cars, completely buried under snowdrifts, creating a nightmarish scenario as rescuers desperately tried to locate victims by sound alone. Sergeant William Benson said people were trapped underneath all that snow, but rescuers could not reach them fast enough, and it was the most helpless feeling he had ever experienced. Disorientation was common. Boston commuter Elizabeth Chen, stranded at her downtown office for 3 days, said the snow was falling so fast she could not see her hand in front of her face, and that it felt like being inside a washing machine of ice and wind. Hospitals became islands of crisis. Dr. James Peterson skied 6 miles to reach Massachusetts General Hospital and described performing emergency surgeries by flashlight. Patients arrived with severe hypothermia, frostbite requiring amputations, and cardiac emergencies. The most surreal moments involved suturing wounds by candlelight, while the building groaned under the weight of snow. News reporters became part of the story they were covering. WBZ-TV meteorologist Bruce Schwugler remained on air for nearly 72 straight hours, sleeping briefly on a cot between broadcasts. He later recalled that people's lives depended on getting accurate information, and that the station was the only lifeline for many families who had no other way to understand what was happening. Perhaps most poignant were the accounts of unexpected births during the disaster. At least 16 blizzard babies were born during the height of the storm, often in extraordinary circumstances. Patricia Wilkins of Quincy delivered her son in the back of a National Guard truck after her home lost power. She later said the guardsman had never delivered a baby before, and she had never given birth without doctors, but they figured it out together with a flashlight and some towels, and they became like family to her. As the storm's severity became clear, Massachusetts activated its emergency response on an unprecedented scale. Governor Dukakis mobilized 4,000 National Guard troops in the largest peacetime military deployment in state history. Military vehicles, including tanks and armored personnel carriers, became the only transportation capable of navigating snow-clogged streets. Ordinary citizens became heroes. Throughout New England, people with snowmobiles and cross-country skis formed improvised rescue teams, delivering medicine to the elderly, transporting pregnant women to hospitals, and bringing supplies to stranded motorists. In many cases, these civilian volunteers reached victims hours before official rescue teams could arrive. The medical community demonstrated extraordinary dedication. Hundreds of doctors, nurses, and hospital staff remained on duty for days without relief, sleeping in vacant patient rooms between shifts. Medical professionals unable to reach their assigned hospitals simply reported to the nearest facility, creating ad hoc staffing arrangements that saved countless lives. Churches, schools, and community centers transformed into emergency shelters. The Red Cross established more than 150 warming centers across Massachusetts alone. Volunteers prepared thousands of meals using whatever ingredients were available as food supplies dwindled. In some communities, neighbors pooled their refrigerated food before it could spoil, creating community kitchens that fed hundreds. The recovery effort itself was monumental. More than 10,000 pieces of snow removal equipment from across North America, including massive snow-melting machines from as far away as Montreal and Toronto, were deployed to clear buried highways and city streets. Army engineers constructed temporary bridges to replace those damaged by coastal flooding. The economic impact was staggering, over $1 billion in damages, equivalent to about $4.5 billion today. The entire region effectively shut down for a full week, with some areas taking nearly 2 weeks to restore basic services. Massachusetts requested and received a federal disaster declaration, unlocking crucial recovery funding. The blizzard of 1978 revolutionized weather forecasting. In its aftermath, the National Weather Service accelerated the deployment of Doppler radar systems across New England, giving forecasters the ability to detect the rotation and intensity of storm systems hours before they arrive. Today's multi-day advance warnings for major snow events can be traced directly to lessons learned from this catastrophe. Massachusetts created the nation's first comprehensive blizzard response plan, establishing protocols that have since been adopted nationwide. The plan included early school closings, phased highway shutdowns, and mandatory business closures based on storm severity projections. This forward-thinking approach has prevented countless similar disasters. Building codes throughout New England were revised to require more robust emergency power systems in hospitals, nursing homes, and public buildings. New construction standards for coastal properties addressed the devastating flooding witnessed during the storm. Utilities were required to implement more aggressive tree trimming programs to reduce power line vulnerabilities. The storm catalyzed the development of modern emergency communication systems. The Emergency Alert System, known as EAS, allows officials to interrupt broadcasts with critical information. The system was tested extensively during subsequent New England storms and refined based on those experiences. Perhaps most significantly, the blizzard of 1978 transformed cultural memory and behavior. New Englanders who lived through the storm developed a different relationship with winter weather forecasts, more respectful, more prepared. The phrase "Remember 1978" became shorthand for taking winter storm warnings seriously. Climate scientists continue studying the 1978 blizzard to understand extreme weather patterns. The storm's unusual characteristics, rapid intensification, blocking pattern, and explosive pressure drops, offer valuable insights into how climate change might affect future winter storm systems. Modern meteorological models frequently use the 1978 blizzard as a benchmark to test prediction accuracy. Emergency management professionals nationwide still reference the Boston response as a case study in disaster preparedness. FEMA training programs incorporate lessons from this event, particularly regarding coordination between military, civilian, and volunteer rescue efforts. The storm's legacy lives on in unexpected ways. Boston's famous informal parking spot reservation system, where residents claim shoveled parking spaces with chairs and other objects, became widespread after the blizzard, when clearing a spot required hours of backbreaking labor. This cultural institution persists as a direct descendant of the storm's aftermath. The White Hurricane taught New England that nature does not follow forecasts. It showed that in our modern world, we are still at the mercy of forces beyond our control. But it also revealed something else, that when everything falls apart, ordinary people become extraordinary. They dig, they rescue, they survive, and they remember. If your family lived through the blizzard of 1978, share their story in the comments. These memories matter. They remind us that no storm, no matter how fierce, can bury the human spirit. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into one of America's most devastating winter catastrophes, please hit that subscribe button to join the Tornado Attacks community. We are on a mission to document history's most powerful natural disasters and the human stories behind them. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers by sharing these forgotten stories of American resilience. Your support ensures these crucial lessons from the past are not buried beneath the snow of time.